So did you have New Year's resolutions? What did you set this year? I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I look at them a little bit different than I did years ago. Hey, my friends. So it's a little chilly out here today, maybe 20 degrees, 22 degrees, but quite a bit of a wind chill. And some nice little flurries coming down here. Anyway, a while ago I did a video on productivity. You might remember it. And in it, I concluded with, if we remember our life goals and we remember the value of time, then productivity kind of works itself out. And when I said that, one of our friends out there said, well, Bill, how do you come up with your life goals? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. There's a lot of terminology in this space, and there's a lot of experts in this space, right? The life coaches industry has just taken off over the past decade or so, and there's a lot of people that work on that. There's consultants. There's all sorts of apps that are out there even. And so there's a lot more to it than I know. And probably terminology, I probably don't use the terminology everybody else does. So let's take a little time to talk about what I mean. Now, when I say a life goal, other people might talk of that as a vision statement. You know, an overriding view. Underneath that, you might have some missions. What do you want to accomplish at a somewhat lower level for the year? And then kind of supporting that are specific goals. What do I need to achieve and what can I measure along those goals? So we'll try not to get too caught up in the terminology, but we'll walk through some of that. As I started thinking about this topic, it took me back to thinking about what was one of my first life goals. And what I came up with is, I don't remember it per se, but learning to walk. You know, I don't know that I actually sat down and said, hey, I want to walk. But I ended up walking at some point. And I don't even know that it was really about walking per se. You know, as I thought about it, maybe it was more about, I want those toys or that food, and I want as many of those as I can get, but they're across the room. I have 3 older siblings. If I can get to them quickly, those toys and that food, then I have a better chance at it. And so the vision was probably more about having food than it was about actually walking or a toy. The one goal that first came to mind, though, that I could actually remember is back in the 70s. And so some of you boomers might remember this. A cereal called the Freakies. Now, the Freakies, I remember there was like a Freaky tree, or at least that's where the cereal grew from. And there were, I think, 7 characters that were part of the Freakies gang, right? There was Boss Moss, who apparently was the leader, Goody Goody, Snorkeldorf, Grumble, and a number of others there. So as I said, all 7. And the little plastic characters came in the box of cereal. And so one of my goals as a kid was, I got to get them all. And so I ate a lot of Freakies until I got the whole set. And I can remember over time, goals continued kind of along that way for me in terms of, you know, collecting whatever it was, baseball cards or beer cans. I had a beer can collection. Actually, I still have a beer can collection somewhere. Other goals would be, you know, I wanted to be able to beat my brothers at either Risk or Monopoly. Things like, oh, I want to get good grades. I want to get past this class. You know, I want to make a sports team. I want to get to like me. Those type of goals and achievements that were in my life. I guess later on then there would be things like, you know, getting a good GPA in college, to get a good job, to get a good salary, to pay off loans, things of that nature. And so at some point I started really formalizing sort of resolution. So I can remember every December, stopping and thinking through, what do I want to get done this year? Things like number of books to read or how much money I want to have saved up. So several years, though, before I retired, I started realizing that maybe I was looking at things wrong. And so I took a different approach, and instead of thinking about what I wanted to achieve that year or get done, I started thinking about, who do I want to be? Who should I become from that? And so that really changed me looking at this. And so for me at the time, it was, I wanted to be somebody who lived a life that honored his faith. And with that, there were some other aspects in terms of things that I've kind of added to that. The idea of being somebody who thinks things through, somebody who's curious, somebody who's kind to others and helps others have fun, right? And so those four kind of pillars are all part of the Wander and Ponder as well. And so that sort of became my life goal, is to be, thoughtful, curious, kind, and fun. I still do resolutions, but they'll tend to be things that kind of support that, as well as kind of missions. In one sense, every one of these videos is a mission. I've come up with some at the beginning of the year of, I want to cover this. And a lot of times you all help me out with that, right? Just like today's video was based on a friend asking the question, well, how do you come up with life goals? And so that's what I've done. These videos that tend to have a theme that kind of tie back to either helping myself and others learn how to be kind or learn how to explore something. One of the tools you'll sometimes hear people talk about, and one I brought over from a business perspective, was a SWOT analysis. So SWOT, which stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you often see this in kind of like a 2x2 grid. Well, each year when I kind of do my vision or life goals, I also kind of work through that. And so I can recall one year I retired and started thinking about doing Wander and Ponder. Kind of tied into that was, well, a strength is I'm fairly creative. A weakness is there's certain skills I don't have. An opportunity was the idea of, well, YouTube, that's a pretty good platform for doing this kind of stuff. A weakness along those lines was, though, I don't know anything about video editing. And so a goal that came out of that was trying to learn how to do some editing, amongst other things. A threat was my health. Could I keep up with this? And so different things along that nature I had to work on. So those things all come together. I don't really have goals in terms of I'm going to put out a video every week. We've talked about that before. I try to do it when it seems that they're ready and I have a good idea that I want to share. Something else that's driven by it. As I was thinking about it, I realized that my hiking experience in retirement kind of maps to this as well. When I first retired, it was all about measuring, the miles and the time. And to some degree, maybe how much, altitude I gained and all that. Over time, though, I wasn't as interested in that. It was more about not getting the hike done, but enjoying it. Stopping and looking at things, stopping and exploring. And I kind of laugh how that kind of maps to kind of my change in life as well. In this space, you also see some people that will talk about another tool called SMART goals. That's SMART, that's an acronym, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bounded or limited. And so we want to have goals that are specific, not just, be healthier. It might be something about, from that perspective, getting blood pressure down or cholesterol or whatever. That's something that is measurable. You don't want to set a goal that's completely unachievable, and you want it to be relevant. And that idea of it being time limited goes back to, you want to be able to measure that and have, in a sense, a deadline to when you're going to have it done, so that you just can't put it off forever. So I'm all for those sorts of things. I like stuff that's measurable, and I like things that are specific. One of the cautions, though, that I'd have with just creating a set of these SMART goals is you don't want them to become your focus, right? Goals are there to help us get to an end. They're a means to that end. But there's times where I'll see people focus too much on that aspect of it. I guess another good example here is, and I haven't even talked to these people about it, it's just an observation. I have friends who, as a family, they've been visiting all the major league ballparks. And that's kind of a cool goal. Now, I don't believe their goal is to just get to all the parks. I think the goal, the real vision of it, is to build family memories. And I see that based on what they talk about when I see them from those trips, or more often what they post in social media. There'll be pictures of the ballpark, but there'll be also other stuff. The Arch in St. Louis, or the Beans in Chicago, all sorts of other cool stuff, and things that are involving the whole family. And so I think that's kind of cool. Having that kind of grid of the different ballparks gives them something to guide that through, but it's really, from my perspective, more about them building family memories than it is about just seeing different ballparks. Even though that is cool in and of itself. Well, if you're wondering where I am today, I'm at Otsonango County Park. This is over in Binghamton, along the Shenango River behind me here. You might remember we were here for the Scarecrow contest, so I think I did a short video on that. But a great county park, very much kind of a city park. You probably hear a lot of noise from the highway over here. But some very nice walking trails. I thought that'd be good on a day like this that's cold. I didn't have to worry too much about getting through the snow on the trails. Anyway, check it out if you get a chance. It's a fun place. So I'm wondering, how do you handle resolutions and life goals, vision statements? Do you have one? Do you set them at the new year, or maybe on your birthday? Drop something down in the comments below. I'd love to hear about that. So with our life goals or vision to guide us, we pick activities and goals and things that support that. And probably just as importantly, we don't spend time on things that aren't tied into that life goal or vision. Anyway, have a great day, stay warm, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.